Good day, everyone, and welcome to Highlights from this week. This is our show where I discuss news that intrigued me this week. So let's get started. So this week, our first news article is a gaming-related topic. So this week, Valve announced that their Steam desktop application with their games store / application will now support DualShock 4 controllers, and it'll bring that compatibility into the app itself. This is super cool. This means if you have a DualShock controller, a DualShock 4 controller, which is the controller that comes with the PlayStation 4, it will be supported by the Steam client. This means you don't need any other software besides the Steam application to make it work. This is great because a lot of gamers who like playing with their console controllers use other applications to get this functionality in Windows or PC gaming. It's great that Valve has actually implemented this support into their own system. This will make it so much easier for people who aren't really too tech savvy to still be able to use their controllers in their games. In terms of support, it'll probably appear just like a Xbox controller. So any games that support controllers, Xbox controllers, it'll automatically work on those games. The overlay that shows up within the game will probably still show the Xbox controls because that's not really something that Steam can do anything about. But in terms of functionality, it should work just like a Steam controller, the ones that they sell themselves, or any Xbox controller. So this is a great news for anybody who likes using controllers, including me, because you no longer need third-party software to make this work, and it'll work right out of the box as long as you could get it paired with this computer. And it'll work wirelessly if you have a Bluetooth dongle, or wired if you decide to connect it through wires. So that's a great bit of news from Steam this week. Next, we have a news story on Techcrunch, and this is about Yahoo's hack. So for those of you who don't know, Yahoo announced this week that they were hacked in August of 2013. So keep in mind, this is like 3 years late now. They finally announced that they were hacked. I believe they mentioned that this earlier, that they were hacked, and about 500 million accounts were released, but now they've actually increased that number to about 1 billion accounts. This is a massive amount of accounts, and this is a large hack. In order for them to lose that much details to their user accounts, it's really massive. Keep in mind that this 1 billion is not 1 billion users. Most likely it's 1 billion accounts, which people have multiple Yahoo accounts. Some people create accounts just for personal use, one for business, others for other sites that they sign up to. So this is not just 1 billion users accounts that were hacked, it's 1 billion Yahoo accounts, whatever that may be. The biggest thing about this is that the details that were actually leaked out through this hack include names of people, so your name if you entered it, the email address, phone numbers, and dates of birth that you may have provided to Yahoo, hashed passwords, so your passwords but they're encrypted using MD5, and in some cases any type of encrypted or unencrypted security questions and answers that you may have provided them. And that's kind of where it's concerning to me personally. That the two main things is the fact that one, the passwords were encrypted using MD5, which is a really old security standard, and modern computing, modern web services don't use MD5 to hash their passwords because it's very weak and it can be broken. Already there are a lot of hash tables, which is what they're called, out there that allow you to actually compare a hash and see what the actual password is. So basically it's not secure at all, and if your password was there, it's very likely that it's probably people know what your password is, so it's not really encrypted. The other thing that's really concerning is the security questions, because one of the biggest problems with security questions is that most likely if they didn't store it in a secure encrypted manner, anybody who has access to this information now can see what your security questions are and what their passwords are. And the implications are that most likely you've used the same questions in other websites as well. And if they find out some questions like the answers to your mother's maiden name or something like this, they can use these answers in other sites since they already have other information from you, including your email address, name, phone numbers, all that stuff, even your date of birth. So they can now use all this information and your security questions to actually hack other accounts that belong to you. So this is a major hack, and this is a major leak on Yahoo's part. And another problem that was pointed out to me by some people online is that people should not actually delete your Yahoo accounts. This is also bad. So when you hear this, a lot of people who have Yahoo accounts are going to go out and delete their Yahoo account because they're worried that people are going to gain access to their emails and passwords and all that stuff. You should probably not do that, because Yahoo has this really ridiculous policy where if you have deleted your account, they're going to use basically release that username or that email address to their pool of available emails. So let's say I have a really cool email address, lunken@yahoo.com or whatever. If I have that email and I decide I don't like Yahoo anymore, so I'm deleting it. The moment I deleted that email, lunken@yahoo.com, that is all of a sudden available again, which means anybody who comes after me can actually sign up to Yahoo using that username, and they all of a sudden have access to all the emails that were first coming to me. Like, since I would have probably used that email to give out to my friends and whatever, or other websites, and all of a sudden these new users will gain access to emails that should have come to me, just because Yahoo no longer gives you those emails, they give it to them. So if you are going to leave Yahoo, which I would recommend you should, and I mean most people who are tech savvy have left Yahoo and towards Google, like Gmail is pretty much the best and probably the industry standard, but there are definitely many other mail providers out there. So if you are leaving Yahoo, what experts recommend is you should purge your account, which means delete everything, all information in the account that has your personal information. So your emails, contacts, anything at all. Delete everything. Purge your account completely, and wipe it clean. Even change your password, but do not delete it. That's the main thing. So the difference between purging and deleting your account is purging means you wipe all the data, but you don't delete it. Because if you delete it, they will have pretty much, Yahoo has the ability to give that account out to somebody else. And you don't want people to impersonate you using your email address, especially if you're somebody who's popular and who's used your email address in public settings. People will try to get that account and then impersonate you, or they'll have access to whatever emails or contacts that come towards you. So keep that in mind. Change your Yahoo password. If you use the Yahoo password in any other account, make sure you change your password. This is very common for people to do. They use the same account, same passwords in different accounts, and very likely people have your passwords. So I would recommend you do that. If you want to actually take a look at this webpage, I'll leave the link in the description along with all other links that I've visited today. So let's move on to the next story. So this is on Variety, and this is about the FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, and his announcement that he will be stepping down after Donald Trump takes office. So for those of you who aren't aware, FCC is like the United States Federal Communication Commission, which is basically the people that have control of all communications, including the internet. And Tom Wheeler was appointed by current President Obama, and he's been in office for about 3 years now, and he's accomplished a lot. He's been pretty neutral about everything, so he has been a supporter of both sides, but he's been pretty neutral throughout. So he's looked at problems pretty objectively in most cases, and he's done a lot to help with net neutrality and keeping things balanced and keeping companies in check, especially internet companies and communications companies. What this means for the general public is that once Tom Wheeler steps down, it kind of ends that chapter where he had that net neutrality, because whoever is going to be put in place is going to be appointed by Donald Trump. And from what it seems, even right now, he has very conservative economists, working for him. So it's very likely that whoever is put in place is also going to be very conservative heavy, and therefore are very likely supporting big business and supporting telephone companies and internet companies rather than the people. So it's very likely that in the next few years, we're going to see a lot of laws that are really bad towards net neutrality be passed, because FCC will pretty much be chaired by somebody who isn't as objective as Tom Wheeler is right now. So I'm not going to say outright that this is going to happen, because again, we have to see what's going to happen. We have to see how Donald Trump is actually going to run the country. He may run it really well, and we just can't tell at this point. But seeing as how conservative his current economy supports are, it's very likely that whoever he puts in is going to be really conservative and very supports towards big business rather than net neutrality. So we'll just have to wait and see. But this is kind of sad to see this happen, because Tom Wheeler can actually stay for up to 5 years until his actually term is over and the president really can't do anything about it. But he has chosen to step down because even he knows that after Trump takes office, all organizations are going to pretty much be flipped upside down, and he knows that he will very likely be unable to get anything done in his current job. So he might as well step down and take it the easy way rather than just be pushed out slowly. So the next story we have is about Airbnb, and this is by the Verge. So for Airbnb is a bed and breakfast service that is done through the web, so either a website or app. You can use this service to rent out your home or whatever place, maybe your summer home, doesn't matter. You could rent it out to people using the app, so that you don't have to worry about any of the hard work. The app does all the work for you. And Airbnb is very popular in the States and even in Canada. The thing that we're seeing is that in the city of New York, they're planning on creating a new law that will prohibit listing apartments for rent if the term of the rent is less than 30 days. What this means is if you're not renting your place for more than 30 days, you're not allowed to do it. It's illegal, and it will become illegal once this law is passed. And this is really bad for people who use Airbnb to rent out their homes, because most of the time, most of those people usually rent it out for either weekends or overnight, or it's very short amounts of time. It's very unlikely. It's very uncommon for people to rent out their places for a longer period of time. But by this law passing, this is going to make it hard for those people to do it legally. So people are actually, speaking up and writing letters towards the mayor, getting them to change the wording of the bill. The bill itself, the law that they're trying to pass, is written towards illegal operations of commercial hotels. So what they're trying to do is actually prevent people from running a hotel without having a license, which is kind of the illegal way of doing it. And this bill is actually targeted towards those people, but the way that the bill is worded, it's so light that it can include these Airbnb people who are basically just renting out one place, not multiple rooms or anything like that. It's nothing too advanced. And this bill is going to make it hard for them as well to do it in a legal manner. So these Airbnb hosts are really trying to make that change, and they're urging the mayor's office to reconsider the wording and to specifically target individuals who are illegally running commercial hotels rather than targeting everybody in general. And that's where we are right now. I think again, all these operations, I think last week we talked about Uber, and this week Airbnb. These are all new web-based services, and we see them kind of conflicting with existing laws or upcoming laws, and there's going to be a lot of problems arising with people who are trying to go by the law but are trying to do things in a more advanced and efficient way. We're just going to have to wait and see and hope that the laws that are made in a reasonable way so that it can accommodate these new technologies into people's daily lives. Next news is by The Verge, and this is about Google replacing Flash in all of their Chrome web browsers once and for all. So this has been a long time coming, and I mean a really long time coming. For those of you who don't know, Google has been rolling out HTML5 supporting Chrome for a while now. It's been out for a couple of years at least, I think. HTML5 is it's built into the browser. It gives great support. It allows a lot of more advanced things to happen. It's already part of your Chrome browser if you use one, or even Firefox or any other modern browser that is up to date right now will have HTML5 support. So what Google has been trying to do is slowly phase out Adobe Flash Player, since it's becoming obsolete and it's a very big security risk because it has so many exploits. Google has finally decided that it's going to completely push it out and prevent Flash apps from running by default. And this has been the thing that's been a long time coming, not HTML5 itself. Starting in February, that's when they'll roll this out for everybody, all Chrome users. Right now, only a few people who are being able to do this. But in February, they're going to roll out to all Chrome users. And what it will do is Chrome will stop loading any Flash-related apps or videos, any type of Flash content by default. So as soon as you enter a web page for the first time, it'll pop up something on the top saying this website is only using Flash. Would you like to enable Flash for this site? And you'd have to actually go and say yes if you want to see your videos play. And this is going to be on a site-for-site basis. So every single site that you go to that has only Flash, you're going to have to manually enable that. And I think this is finally come. I mean, it's something that should have come a while back, but it's finally, you could see it phasing out Flash the same way we've seen Java also get phased out. For those of you who have not really seen the transition, you should notice that Netflix, YouTube, and even Facebook are already using HTML5 based players to play their videos. So if you are worried that your daily routine is going to get messed up, it's very unlikely. if you're using any of the major websites, they're already using HTML5. It's just more efficient, and it's easier. So companies like YouTube, Netflix, they already have this HTML5 players enabled, so you don't have to worry about that at all. This is mainly for those less common sites that still use Flash players to play their videos that you'll have problems with. But by Google doing this, it's going to push any website owners who currently host websites with Flash to update their sites and use the latest tech, which is always good, because when websites use old tech, there's a chance that they could be compromised. Your security is at risk, and so is theirs. So it's a great thing, and it's a normal and needed transition for Chrome to do this, and it's finally here. So the coming February 2017, HTML5 will be the default content playback method on Chrome browsers. And yeah, so we'll see if this actually ends up being a problem for people. I don't think it will, because I think Chrome does a good job of notifying you right at the top. There's a pop-up message telling you need to enable Flash. So they're not going to take Flash out completely, but they're going to make it so that it's no longer default. So you would have to manually allow Flash to work in your browser if you want it to actually work. And the final topic for this week is by Techcrunch, and it's a little niche topic, but it really interested me, so I wanted to talk a little bit about it. It's about the city of Montreal, which is in Quebec, Canada, and what the city is doing is they're implementing Bluetooth devices in their intersections to track traffic habits, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to identify areas in their city where there's traffic, where there's congestion, and they want to do it in a way that it's going to be live and up to date. So what they're doing is they're implementing hardware that'll be basically Bluetooth trackers, and they'll try to track Bluetooth devices in real time. Bluetooth devices are things like your phones or even cars that support Bluetooth. And basically they'll just try to track them based on their MAC address, which is their unique device identification. And they'll try to track that through the city, through all the traffic lights, to see kind of where it's going, where it's being slowed down, how long it's taking, stuff like that. They say that it's not going to track people specifically, and it's not going to identify people. They're just going to be tracking the unique MAC address of each device. So couple notes on this. First of all, I'm not really sure how they're going to manage to track any devices that don't have Bluetooth enabled or don't have Bluetooth publicly visible, because if you've used Bluetooth, you'd know that you usually have to click your device to be visible in order for other devices to identify it. So I'm not sure if it's going to be able to track everything or every single mobile device, especially if Bluetooth is off. Then there's no hope that it'll work. But more modern vehicles do have Bluetooth built in, and those are more likely to be visible all the time. So maybe it's tracking that type of content. I don't know enough about this to actually give my opinion on it, but that might be how it's happening. Either way, this is not going to be a really advanced way of tracking vehicles, because I think the best way to do it would be just to use cameras with motion tracking and to actually try to identify how many vehicles are in each intersection. But I'm assuming this works. I mean, they must have had some sort of road tests or trials to see if this works. And what they're going to do is monitor traffic in real time and all the time. So it's not just once a year or something. It's all the time. They're going to be monitoring and making changes to those traffic lights to see if they could reduce the amount of traffic and congestion on their roads. The only other note I have is regarding privacy concerns. They do say that they don't identify individuals specifically, or they don't try to make unique identifications, but they try to identify people's like a single device ID and try to see where that device is going, just how it's going through its traffic. So I don't think it's going to be much of a problem, but this is a government or a city tracking its people. So there is going to be those people who are really concerned about their privacy. At this point, I think if you turn off your Bluetooth, you're pretty much invisible. And I think that's where I think Bluetooth will be better than camera tracking, because camera tracking does feel a little bit more privacy invasive. But I think it should be fine. We'll just have to see how this goes, and if these actually do help reduce traffic. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if after it's implemented, if it'll actually be practical. So that's all for the news for this week. As usual, I have this new segment called Pick of the Week, and it's when I highlight a website or app or whatever that interested me this week. And this week's pick of the week is an app called Nuke Map. And I'll take a bit of time to just show the app and kind of explain and maybe give an example of it. But it's a web application that allows you to see the impact of a nuclear bomb and see what the impact is on whatever target that you make the place of impact. So this allows you to set a location, any location on the world, any place. You could pretty much, it uses Google Maps. So any map location on Google, you could drop a nuclear bomb using whatever yield you want. So any size nuclear bomb that you want to enter, you could pretty much do that and see what it is, see what the fallout is and all that. So let's do a quick example. By default, it shows New York City in the map, and we can move the map around and zoom in and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. It's dropping in Lower Manhattan, I guess. That's, I guess, a place where a government who has nuclear bombs may target, since it's one of the densest places and one of the busiest and one of the most important in terms of US financial district, I guess. So anyway, let's select that, New York by default. And over here, I'm going to enter yield. So let's do 2 tests. The first one, let's drop Fat Man right here. So the Fat Man is the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki in Japan. It was a 20 kiloton yield weapon, and it basically it's something that people know. It's a common thing. So it's great to see kind of an example of what would have happened if, instead of it being dropped in Nagasaki, if it was dropped here in New York. So next, you could have basic operations, number 3, where you select whether you want it to be air burst or a surface burst. An air burst is when a nuclear bomb explodes in the air, and a surface is when it explodes in the surface, obviously. You could also check up, you could add other effects such as casualties and radioactive fallout to see other impacts it may have. And finally, you click the detonate button so that it'll actually simulate that explosion. And as you can see, it runs a computer simulation. It tries to figure out how many fatalities there will be, how many estimated injuries, and it pretty much highlights all this cool information here about like the impact this nuclear bomb will have on, in this case, Lower Manhattan. So it also shows kind of the impact in terms of rings, and shows how the impact will be spread out and what types of impact they'll have. They range from the fireball to air blast, and then to radiation, the radiation radius. So this green part is all the area that will be pretty much covered in radiation. So people will not be able to go to that area without being exposed to radioactive material. The gray area is the air blast radius, and of course the last one is the thermal radiation on the outer ring. So again, this will also change depending on whether it's an air burst or surface burst. So you got to play around and kind of see what kind of impact it'll have. Now this is the Fat Man. So like I said, we'll do one more example. The next one, I'm gonna keep the location the same so that you have an idea of what this impact was. So this is New York City. I'm zooming out, and you can kind of see, you can see Long Island on this side and Newark on this side. Now, if we change the yield of the weapon, and you could scroll down and it gets bigger and bigger. Obviously, up here, you could actually enter your own number. You can see if you go all the way down to here, there is two options for the Tsar bomb. This is the largest Russian bomb that they've tested. Over here, if you look at the 50 megaton one, that is the largest one that they've tested. They also have 100 megaton one, but they haven't tested it. It's just in the development phase. But this is basically a bomb that Russia has. So there is potential that it can be dropped on something at some point if there's any conflict. So pretty much we'll try out the 50 megaton one. If you look at the current estimated fatalities, it's 287,000. So let's detonate this. And already we passed millions. We're into 5 million now, 6, 7. So almost 8 million estimated fatalities and an additional estimated 4 million injuries from the Tsar bomb being dropped on Lower Manhattan in New York. So it's pretty crazy, the impact of like how big the impact is. I mean, these are cities being engulfed in a bomb. It's not a single like location. It's massive. There's no way you can escape it. It's really deadly. And then also you could see over here, since it's a bigger bomb, you could see the kind of the radiation fallout and kind of how the radiation blew. This usually follows wind patterns and so on. So it's pretty accurate, pretty neat, even if it's just play around and see kind of the impacts it has on different places. I think it also uses terrain estimations to see how it'll actually affect the area. I haven't gone too deep into this yet, but from what it seems, seems really accurate and really cool way to kind of learn more about nuclear weapons, why they're pretty dangerous and why we shouldn't have them probably, at least not have them in an easy way to access like this. Anyway, this website itself, nuclearsecrecy.com, is actually pretty cool, and they have a lot of information about the nuclear bombs and nuclear programs. So you should definitely check out that site as well, not just the map. But as always, I'll leave this link in the video description with all the other links. So guys, that we have come to the end of today's video. That concludes pretty much all the topics for this week's show. We would love to hear from you on your opinions on today's topics. So please remember to leave a comment or contact us through our social network accounts. You can also use those same platforms to suggest topics for future shows. And as always, please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and check out other videos. Until next time, everyone, peace.